On this tutorial video, we're going to take a look at the updated curriculum doc in a Google Doc template. And so we're going to walk through the steps necessary to take you from the Google Spreadsheet version into the Google Doc version. So let's go ahead and get started. From the template itself, we need to go to File and make a copy. Go ahead and make sure you update this name here to the naming convention provided, or something that is going to be memorable to you and those that you're working with. We're going to be working with an Algebra 1 example, so I'm just going to update that to Algebra 1. Now you're going to want to have the Google Doc as well as the spreadsheet open in a different tab as well. We're going to be working in both of those today. So on my Google Spreadsheet version, you can see I'm working with an Algebra 1 course. Working in a Unit 2 here. So when I go back to my Google Doc, first thing I'm going to do is update my course name for this example, Algebra 1. We're going to work in grade 9, and we're going to do this for 2019-2020 school year. Now in the spreadsheet version, you have tabs at the bottom to help you navigate between the different weeks and different content areas. In a Google Doc, the way that we're doing that is we're using a table of contents, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we update the links here. These are going to essentially work as links like they would in a website. So we click on any one of the links, it's going to take us down to the specific subject area and content area that we're going to update. So it's very important to know that we're not going to make the changes here inside of the table of contents. We're actually going to do that down below, and I'll show you where we make those changes and why we're not making those changes here and why we have to make them down below. So if I click on the link here, it takes me down to subject 1. We've built this doc template so there are 30 weeks or 30 content areas for you to come in here and update. So if I go into my spreadsheet version now, and I'm going to see I'm on Unit 2, Expressions and Equations. So I'm going to change my subject 1 to be Unit 2, Expressions and Equations. I go back to my spreadsheet, I see that my dates for this are 9/5 to 9/15. So I'm going to update my specific dates here to be 9/5 to 9/15/19. Okay. Now, if I go back up to my table of contents here, notice that it has not updated yet. Okay, and the reason for that is because we have to refresh the table of contents in order for it to that change to take effect. So if I click to the right of my links here, and I click refresh, and it's going to show here now we have Unit 2 Expressions and Equations. Right? If you come in and try to make the changes here, it's not going to work because when we go to refresh again, it's just going to override that with whatever it's seeing down underneath for that specific week or content area. Right? So we have to make sure that we change that here and then refresh that table of contents in order for those links to be updated. Now we try to make the table that we have here be very similar to what we have in a Google spreadsheet example. So as long as you haven't added any rows or columns to your Google spreadsheet example, you should just be able to copy and paste information over. If you did add columns in your Google spreadsheet, that's fine. You can add them in here. I would recommend you add those in before copying and pasting over. If you just click in a cell, right click, you can then say insert left or insert right to line up the columns to have it match your Google spreadsheet example. So if I go back over to my spreadsheet example, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click, hold, and drag to highlight the data that I want to bring over. All right. And notice here that there are 4 rows of information. All right. There are 4 rows of information. I'm going to copy this, Control C, go back over to my document. Notice here there are only 3 rows, but that's okay because as long as we click in the top left corner here and we paste our data in here, then it'll go ahead and add another row automatically for you. You don't have to worry about adding another row before you copy or before you paste your information in. So I'm going to paste my information in right here. And so here's all of my curriculum map information all came over. If you want, while the text is all highlighted, if you want to go ahead and change or update the text format or the size, then now would be a good time to do that. You can always come back and do that later, but there's an opportunity for you to do that there. So one of the benefits of doing this in a Google Doc is it's going to make it much easier to put links in your resources. If you remember, if you tried to do that in a spreadsheet, you can only have one link per cell. So that would get kind of tricky sometimes. So now you can add as many links as you want in here. It's not a applicable link there, but you can add as many links as you want in here. That'll help format wise for you a little bit. Okay. Now let's say that you don't have 30 different weeks or 30 different content areas to add for your curriculum map. That's fine. What you're going to want to do is you can just go down and delete those. Now you don't want to delete those here. Remember, we have to delete that underneath, but to make those changes underneath, because this is all looking at the data that's underneath. So if I click down to 21, let's say I only have 20 weeks or 20 content areas, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click, hold, and drag all the way down here to the bottom. I'm going to hit delete, and now that's been removed. You'll note also that you have this back to top link here to help with navigation a little bit, since we anticipate this document might get a little bit long. So if I click back up to the top, it takes me up to my table of contents. So weeks 21 through 30 are still showing. Why is that? Because we haven't refreshed that table of contents. So if we click to the right of the table of contents and then click refresh, now we're back to 20 specific dates or weeks here, content areas for our curriculum map. Okay, so that is it in a nutshell. You'll want to do that same process for every subject here, for every week, essentially every tab that you have on your spreadsheet. You'll want to bring that information over to the doc template here. If you have any questions, please ask your assistant principal who's overseeing this area, or if you have any technical questions or issues with the format or the template itself, please feel free to email me. This is Christian Long, long_c@ohlsc.org. I'd be happy to help. Happy curriculum mapping.